Welcome back to the channel, everybody. It's EricRayweather back here, and we're going to be talking about the upcoming Madden 22 update that should be bringing a lot of things that people have been waiting for, most notably the X Factor and Superstar changes, but we also have gameplay changes. We're going to have some franchise changes, and there's some other things that EA has already kind of talked about or alluded to, which we're going to cover in this video. And of course, if you're new to the channel and you don't want to miss out on any of the future updates or news, make sure to subscribe and turn the bell icon on so you don't miss these videos when they go live. Now, this next big update should be dropping very soon. We got our last big update right at the beginning of November, and now we're getting into week 3 of November, so we could be seeing this at the end of the month, or at the latest it would be the first week of December. So give or take, we're probably about 12-13 days away at max. And usually around this time of the year, they start shifting a lot of things in the game, especially with gameplay. We saw them start to do that a little bit with the last update, but there's still definitely more they're going to be switching. And the game always kind of takes a big turn around this big midway point of the year. They change up a lot of the X Factor and Superstar players, which I did think they were going to do in the last update, but come to find out, the one that we just got was kind of submitted about a month ago, so more so before the halfway point of the season, so that's why that wasn't included. So with this next update, we're definitely going to be getting that. The next franchise update should be soon as well. We're going to talk about that and gameplay stuff as well. But really quickly, let's hear a word from today's video sponsor. Today's video is sponsored by Manscaped. Now look, with Christmas right around the corner, there's no better gift for the man in your family than the Performance Package Kit from Manscaped, which I've been using for a long time and I absolutely love. For starters, you get this bad boy right here, the Lawnmower 4.0 waterproof cordless body trimmer that has advanced skin safe technology, so you don't get those nicks and those snags when cutting, which for me is the biggest feature of the product. I've been cut in the past and it doesn't feel good. Now, you want to talk about not feeling good? Have you ever tried to pluck a nose hair? That hurts extremely bad, but with the Weed Whacker nose and ear hair trimmer, it's pain-free, and this also comes in the Performance Package Kit. Then you got these two little gems right here, the Crop Preserver and the Crop Reviver, that keep you smelling clean and fresh down there all day long. And if that isn't enough, they're throwing in 2 free gifts, the Shed-Free Travel Bag and the Anti-Chafing Boxer Briefs, which have become a staple for me. They're the most comfortable boxer briefs I've ever worn. And if that's not enough for you, you can get 20% off plus free shipping when you go to manscaped.com/Eric20. Again, that is manscaped.com/Eric20 for your 2 free gifts, free shipping, and 20% off. What are you waiting for? So let's start with X Factor and Superstar players. Now, there's a ton of names here that deserve to be moved into the X Factor and Superstar group of players. Now, what I don't like is the last couple of years, EA's only done one update to these pool of players, whereas in Madden 20, when these things got introduced, I think they updated it 3 or 4 times, and they said that's what they were going to do every year, and they just haven't done that. And I think that puts us in a spot where they're already a step behind, because there's players that don't even have Superstar next to them that should have had it probably a month or 2 ago. So now those are players that potentially should be X Factors, but because they haven't even been given that Superstar role yet with the abilities, they're not going to jump straight to X Factor. Guys like Jonathan Taylor, for example, or Deebo Samuel, who are just absolutely lighting it up and have just ascended to top players at their position this year. They're not even Superstar players yet, and typically EA doesn't jump you from being a regular player all the way up to an X Factor, even though some of these guys do deserve to be there. So first, starting with X Factors, I think these few guys are the ones that potentially could become X Factor players because they are already Superstar players and they're playing very well. Now, the most notable guy that I think is an absolute shoo-in is, of course, Cooper Kupp. He's been a Superstar player for a couple of years. He's hitting a whole nother level this year. He may even break Calvin Johnson's record for yards in a season. I believe he leads the league in both yards and touchdowns right now, and he is just, if you play fantasy football especially, Cooper Kupp's doing damage. Like, he's just piling up yards, piling up touchdowns, piling up catches. He is the #1 guy that I am most confident in that he will become an X Factor with this update. Now, there's some other guys I'm confident in as well. The next one is Dak Prescott. He has definitely been emerging as a top player in the league, a top QB in the league. He's been a Superstar for a couple of years. Last year, he was off to a hot start before having that terrible injury. He's back this year and has been lighting it up and is one of the big reasons the Cowboys are one of the best teams in the league this year. I think he is definitely going to be jumping up to that X Factor spot. And then you have Justin Jefferson, who I think has a good chance of this as well. He had a great rookie season. He's been a superstar player since the midway point of last year, and he's coming back this year, and he's having a pretty good season as well. He's looking like he probably could match his rookie season numbers or be very close to it, which were, I think he overperformed as a rookie. I mean, he had like a top 5 wide receiver season as a rookie. He was an all-pro. So even if he matches those numbers or comes close, the second year in a row putting up those kind of numbers would definitely make you like a top 7 wide receiver numbers-wise, which I think would make him a X Factor player. And then you also got some guys like Josh Allen, who I'm on the fence with. I feel like he should have been an X Factor player, but seeing as he's only a superstar player, and I don't know that he's been doing enough this year that EA is going to just push him right into X Factor, even though I think at his core he is an X Factor. He's one of the X Factor players of the league in my opinion, so I think there's a chance there, but we'll see what they do. Now, looking at players that'll go to superstar, and again, keep in mind, some of these players in my mind should be X Factor players, but the fact is EA is kind of behind the 8 ball because they're not updating these guys enough, so I don't think they're going to jump them from being regular players all the way up to X Factors. I don't really remember them ever doing that with pretty much anybody, so, that's why I think these guys are going to become superstars first. Well, one of the first guys is obviously Jonathan Taylor, who already seems like he's a top 5 running back in the league, in my opinion. He did really good as a rookie, and he's just ascending to a whole nother level this year. Other guys I think are going to be here for sure are guys like Max Crosby, who again, I think you can argue should be an X Factor player, but they've been behind the 8 ball with him, not only in abilities, but in ratings. I mean, he came into the year as a 77 overall, and he's been one of the biggest ratings improvements so far this year, because kind of like how they were with TJ Watt in the past, just behind the 8 ball on certain players, not really rating them properly or giving them that proper recognition. So I do think he'll jump up to that superstar. Trayvon Diggs is obviously another obvious one. Like, you got to give that guy pick artist or something because he's just getting his hands on the ball literally every week. Jamar Chase is a rookie, I think will, much like Justin Jefferson last year, jump into the superstar group of players with the update because he's still, I think, top 5 in yards. He's top 5 in touchdowns. He's one of the better big play receivers this year. He's definitely going to jump up there. Deebo Samuel, another guy that I don't think people expected him to, jump up this much this year, but he's having an all-pro season. He's not a superstar player, so he'll probably get that superstar for sure, but you could argue that he's a top 5 receiver for this season. He's been playing just that well, but they're probably not going to bump him all the way up to X Factor just yet. You got some other second-year wide receivers like CeeDee Lamb and Michael Pittman, who I definitely think deserve superstar abilities. They've been lighting it up this year. You've got Denzel Ward, who's been locking up a lot of people at the cornerback position. I feel like he is a guy that should maybe even be in consideration for X Factor. He's a very talented cornerback. His problem so far in his career has just been staying healthy. Right now he's healthy and he's going crazy, but he'll probably get the superstar as well. You got a couple of guys on the Titans defensive line, Jeffrey Simmons and Harold Landry, definitely 2 guys I think deserve superstar abilities at least. They've been really causing a lot of problems for offenses so far this year. One of the big reasons the Titans are one of the best teams in the league. Then there's some other guys I think, Austin Eckler I think definitely will be in that superstar group, especially because he's one of the few really good dual threat backs in the league, and all the other dual threat backs like McCaffrey, Kamara, Aaron Jones, like the top dual threat backs are kind of in that superstar at least category, so I think he'll be there as well. I also wanted to mention Joe Mixon. I did forget about him. I think he's already a superstar player. You can argue that he should jump up to X Factor as well. He's finally staying healthy for the first time in a while, and he's having a top running back season. I don't think they'll do it. I think they're going to probably leave him at superstar, but I definitely think you can make a case for him. And then there's some other guys like, Joe Burrow, Justin Herbert, Matthew Stafford. None of those guys have superstar abilities, and I think you could argue that they deserve something. They've been playing very well. And even a guy like Hunter Renfrow, which the reason I mention him is because if Cole Beasley is a superstar player because he's such a good slot receiver, right now Hunter Renfrow is a better Cole Beasley. He just is. So if Cole Beasley's going to have those slot abilities because he specializes in the slot, I think you make the case that Hunter Renfrow deserves to be there as well. Now, I'm not saying all these guys are going to get this designation, but I think these are all guys, at least off the top of my head, that need to be in that conversation and probably should get these abilities, but we'll see what EA decides to do. And if I forgot any obvious names for some reason, just let me know in the comments below. Now, in terms of franchise mode, we're getting very close to what should be the next franchise update. Much like they did last year, they did 3 post-launch updates to franchise mode. We already got the first one this year when they added the scouting overhaul. We're getting, you know, quite a bit of time removed from that. So either this update, maybe the next one, we should be seeing the next big whatever they're going to do to franchise. And it's probably not going to be as big as what they did with the scouting, because that was kind of something that had been worked on for, you know, months and months and months. But we should be getting some new additions. We should be getting some things maybe even changed, you know, in terms of like free agents, trading, contracts, potentially. There's a lot of things they could do, but there should be doing a franchise update pretty soon. There's also a Bo Jackson update. I believe this is actually coming to the game tomorrow, so if it does, we'll do a video and talk about that with the roster update. But there's like a big Bo Jackson advertisement they're doing, and I believe pretty much every part of the game, they're kind of dropping some Bo Jackson stuff. Obviously, he's always a big thing for Ultimate Team every year, so he's going to be coming to Ultimate Team, and there's like a program that kind of spans through multiple game modes like Superstar, KO, and the Yard. I think they're going to be dropping Bo Jackson content in each of those modes, and they're going to kind of sync together in a certain way, I think, for Ultimate Team. That's kind of the vibe I'm getting from it, so that is something coming to the game. So if you play Ultimate Team, KO, or the Yard, there's going to be some Bo Jackson stuff coming across all of that. I believe that is tomorrow. And in terms of gameplay, I mean, there's always going to be gameplay fixes and tweaks and additions with each update. The X Factor and Superstar stuff technically goes along with gameplay because it affects the gameplay so much, but there's still other areas of gameplay that needs to be addressed. Right now, the biggest issue with this game, which is, this has always been an issue, but it's really, really, really bad this year, maybe the worst it's ever been, is dropped interceptions. And that's always kind of a controversial topic because some people think there's too many interceptions in Madden, but specifically if you're an online player, you know how bad the dropped interceptions are. I mean, you got guys dropping 5 to 8 interceptions a game. You know, people just making a lot of bad passes into coverage, throwing right at the defensive players, and these are just being dropped, and it's really causing a lot of frustration in the online community. I do think that's something that should and maybe will be addressed to some degree. Obviously, you still have tons of issues with coverages. They've done a lot of stuff with them this year. They've made some stuff better. They've made some stuff worse, as always, but I would expect, usually with each big update, when they touch stuff with gameplay, you're gonna see some stuff with coverages change in one way or another. Like, they always mess with coverages, so expect that to be coming as well. And aside from that, there still could potentially be more player likeness equipment type updates. We haven't really gotten a lot of stuff with equipment this year. We've gotten a few cleats and things like that, but every year they've been pretty decent with equipment for the past 3 or 4 Maddens, and they talked at the beginning of the year, like they do every year, about a bunch of potential things they could be doing equipment wise, and they said that they would expect some of those to be able to be done this year and put into the game. As we're getting to that halfway point of the year, I think you could potentially expect some more equipment updates, whether it's 1 or 2 little things or maybe it's one big thing that they add. And there's also, you know, tons of player likeness that still need update. I mean, we talked about this multiple times this year. There's big name players like even Fred Warner and Darren Waller who don't have their face in the game, and there's of course a lot of first, second, and third year players that still don't have their face scanned in the game as well, and we haven't gotten a batch of player likeness updates for a couple months, so I think that is something you could be expecting with this next update as well. Hope you enjoyed the video. Make sure to check out some of these other videos right here on the screen, and I will see you guys next time.